Hello, dear story lovers. At the amount of 1,000 subscribers, I will post a huge series of special stories for you. Subscribe now. It was a crisp autumn afternoon in Ridgeview, a small, sleepy town surrounded by dense woods and rolling hills. The twin brothers Alex and Ben, both 12 years old and inseparable, were out exploring their favorite part of the forest. They had spent countless weekends there, climbing trees and pretending to be adventurers on epic quests. Today, however, their discovery was far beyond anything they could have imagined. "Check this out," Alex called, brushing aside a mound of leaves with his sneaker. Something metallic was poking out of the soft earth, glinting in the sunlight that filtered through the canopy above. Ben knelt down beside him, his brown eyes wide with curiosity. "What do you think it is? A treasure chest? A piece of a spaceship?" "Only one way to find out," Alex said, grabbing a sturdy branch and using it to dig around the object. The twins worked together, their excitement building with every scoop of dirt they removed. After a few minutes, the object was fully exposed, a smooth, oval-shaped capsule about the size of a soccer ball, its surface covered in intricate, glowing symbols. "Whoa," Ben whispered, running his fingers over the strange markings. "It's warm. And it's glowing. This is totally alien, isn't it?" "Maybe," Alex said, though he was already convinced. "Let's open it." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Ben asked, glancing around nervously. "What if it's dangerous?" Alex grinned, his adventurous spirit overpowering any sense of caution. "Come on, Ben. What if it's something amazing?" With a gentle press on what looked like a button in the center of the capsule, there was a soft hiss, and the top split open like a flower. Inside lay a creature that defied explanation. It was small, no larger than a house cat, with sleek, scaly skin that shimmered in iridescent hues of green and gold. Its body was delicate yet oddly majestic, with 4 tiny wings folded against its sides and a long, whip-like tail curled around its frame. The twins stared in awe as the creature opened its eyes, large, luminous orbs that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe. It let out a weak, plaintive sound, a mix between a chirp and a purr, as if asking for help. It's a baby dragon," Ben stammered, unable to tear his gaze away. "A real, live alien dragon." "It looks hungry," Alex said, his practical side kicking in. "We need to help it." Ben hesitated. "But what does a dragon eat? Fire? Space rocks?" "I don't know," Alex admitted. "But we have food at home. Let's try that." Carefully, Alex scooped up the creature in his jacket, cradling it like a fragile treasure. It nuzzled against him, its scales warm to the touch. Ben followed close behind, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone or something to come chasing after them. When they reached the kitchen, the boys scrambled to assemble a makeshift meal. They poured milk into a bowl, grabbed leftover chicken, and even added a few slices of apple for good measure. Placing the food on the floor, they watched nervously as the dragonling sniffed the offerings with its tiny snout. To their relief, it began to eat, its delicate jaws snapping up the pieces of chicken and gulping down the milk. Its scales seemed to glow brighter with each bite, and its small wings fluttered faintly, as if gaining strength. Ben crouched beside it, his initial fear replaced by fascination. "It's incredible. Look at the way it glows." "It's more than incredible," Alex said, his voice filled with wonder. "It's like it came from another world." For a moment, the room was silent except for the soft sounds of the dragonling eating. The boys exchanged a look, an unspoken agreement passing between them. They didn't know where this creature had come from or why it was here, but they knew one thing: they would do whatever it took to protect it. Just as the dragonling finished its meal, it let out a contented hum, a sound that seemed to vibrate in the air around them. The twins felt it a strange, tingling sensation in their minds, as if the creature was trying to communicate with them. "What was that?" Ben asked, his voice trembling slightly. Alex didn't answer. He was staring at the dragonling, his heart racing. Somehow, he knew their lives had just changed forever. The dragonling, which the twins had decided to call Spark after seeing the faint trails of light that glimmered off its scales, quickly became the center of their world. The brothers set up a makeshift sanctuary for Spark in their shared bedroom, a cozy corner padded with old blankets and pillows. Despite its alien origins, Spark seemed to thrive in their care, its wings growing stronger and its movements more animated by the hour. As Spark nestled into its new home, something remarkable began to happen. Whenever Alex or Ben sat close to the creature, they felt a subtle hum in their mind's eye rhythm that wasn't entirely sound, but more like a vibration threading through their thoughts. At first, they thought it was their imagination. But then the hum began to take shape. "Did you just see that?" Alex asked, staring wide-eyed at Ben. Ben blinked, his face pale. "You mean the stars?" "The flashes of... I don't know what that was. Planets? Battles? It's like a movie playing in my head." Both boys fell silent, looking at Spark. The dragonling's luminous eyes stared back, unblinking and deep, as if it were waiting for them to understand. "What if it's trying to tell us something?" Alex suggested. "Like, through images and feelings?" "It's not like we speak the same language," Ben said hesitantly, then paused. "But maybe. It doesn't need language." The next time they sat close to Spark, they focused on the sensations, letting the hum guide their thoughts. That was when the flood of images truly began. They saw a massive, glittering nest suspended in the void of space, surrounded by swirling galaxies. It was a place of majesty and power, teeming with creatures like Spark though much larger, with wings that spanned miles and voices that rumbled like thunder. Spark was there, small and curious, playing among the stars until a sudden burst of light shattered the scene. Fear and loss radiated from the dragonling as it showed them its spiraling descent through the atmosphere of an unfamiliar planet, its cries echoing in the vast emptiness until it landed, battered and alone, in the forest behind their house. Ben wiped his eyes, overwhelmed by the emotion Spark was sharing. "It's lost. It fell here by accident." "And it's not just any dragon," Alex said, his voice trembling with realization. "Did you see that nest? Those other dragons? Spark must come from some kind of royal family. It's like an alien prince or something." "Which means..." Ben hesitated, dread creeping into his voice. "Something or someone is probably looking for it." Spark nuzzled against Ben's arm, its scales warm and soothing, as if to calm him. Despite its small size, the dragonling's presence carried a strange reassurance, a sense of trust that transcended the barriers of species or language. The connection grew deeper as the hours passed. The boys began to understand more of Spark's feelings and instincts, almost as if they were becoming part of its mind. They learned that Spark wasn't just a passive creature, it had power, a raw, untamed energy that could ripple through the air like a storm. But it was too young to control that power, and without guidance, it was vulnerable. "We have to keep it safe," Alex said firmly, his protective instincts kicking in. "At least until it's strong enough to go home." Ben nodded. "But how? If its family is looking for it, won't they come here? What if they're not friendly?" Alex hesitated, glancing at Spark. The dragonling, sensing their worry, let out a soft trill and flapped its wings weakly. It didn't have the answers, but its trust in them was clear. That night, as the boys lay in bed with Spark dozing peacefully between them, they couldn't shake the images of the royal nest and the cosmic battles. The more they thought about it, the more they realized how fragile their situation was. Spark was a gift and extraordinary being that had entrusted them with its care, but it also carried the weight of a much larger, more dangerous world. Just before they drifted off to sleep, the hum returned, stronger this time. It wasn't just emotions or visions now, it was a message, clear and urgent. "They are coming." Alex and Ben shot up in bed, their hearts pounding. Spark was awake too, its eyes glowing like twin suns. The message wasn't a warning, it was a fact. And it left them with only one burning question. Who was coming, and what would they do when they arrived? The morning started out deceptively normal. Alex and Ben woke up early, still buzzing from the strange telepathic message they'd received from Spark the night before. As the dragonling snuggled in its makeshift nest, its iridescent scales dimmer in the soft morning light, the boys hurriedly made plans. "We need to keep Spark hidden," Alex said, pacing the small bedroom. "If someone's coming, we don't know if they're friendly." Ben nodded, sitting cross-legged on the floor next to Spark. "But how? It's not like we can just stuff it in a backpack and pretend everything's fine. Maybe we can hide it in the woods?" Alex suggested, though his voice wavered. Or dash before he could finish, the ground beneath their house rumbled. It wasn't like the vibrations from Spark's telepathic hum. This was something far more physical, more terrifying. The boys scrambled to the window, their hearts sinking as they saw what was happening outside. The sky had darkened unnaturally, and dozens of glowing ships cut through the clouds, sleek and otherworldly. The vessels weren't the flying saucers of Earth's sci-fi imagination, they were more like enormous crystalline creatures, their angular forms pulsating with shifting colors. They moved with both precision and menace, descending slowly over Ridgeview like predatory birds circling their prey. Alex and Ben's parents, oblivious to Spark's presence or the alien connection their sons had made, rushed into the room. "Boys, what's going on?" their father demanded, his face pale. "We need to get to the basement." "Go," Alex said quickly, trying to sound calm. "We'll meet you there in a second." Their parents hesitated, but the urgency in Alex's voice convinced them to retreat. As soon as they were gone, Ben turned to Alex, his face pale. "What do we do?" "They're here for Spark." "I know it." Spark, now wide awake, let out a high-pitched trill that reverberated through the room. The boys felt it in their minds, a mix of fear and resolve. Spark didn't want to hide. It wanted to face what was coming. Before the boys could argue about what to do next, a deafening roar echoed through the air. One of the ships landed in the field behind their house, its crystalline hull gleaming with an iridescent glow. The ground shuddered as a ramp extended, and a group of alien soldiers emerged. They were unlike anything the boys had ever seen. Clad in armor that looked like living metal, the soldiers were tall and imposing, with angular features and piercing, glowing eyes. Each carried a weapon that shimmered with an unearthly energy, and they moved with the precision of a well-trained military unit. Alex grabbed Spark, holding the dragonling close. "We can't let them take it." "They'll tear the house apart if they think Spark's here," Ben said, panic rising in his voice. "We have to do something." Spark squirmed in Alex's arms, its eyes glowing brighter. It sent another message into their minds, one word pulsing with determination: trust. The boys exchanged a glance, and in that moment, they understood. Spark wasn't just asking them to trust it was asking them to trust themselves. With their bond growing stronger by the second, Alex and Ben felt a surge of courage they didn't know they had. "Follow me," Alex said, clutching Spark tightly as he led Ben toward the woods behind their house. They moved as quickly and quietly as they could, dodging between trees and bushes to stay out of sight. The alien soldiers were fanning out, scanning the area with devices that emitted eerie, blue light. The boys knew it was only a matter of time before they were found. As they reached a clearing deeper in the forest, one of the soldiers spotted them. A loud, alien shout rang out, and within seconds, the entire squad was converging on their location. The boys froze, their breath catching in their throats. Spark chirped loudly, and its body began to glow again, brighter than ever before. The air around them crackled with energy, and a sudden wave of force erupted from Spark's tiny body. The alien soldiers were thrown back, their weapons disabled by the surge. Spark's scales flared with an intensity that lit up the entire clearing, and for a brief moment, the boys felt as though they were standing at the center of a star. The soldiers recovered quickly, though their movements were slower now, cautious. Their leader, a towering figure with golden armor and a crest-like helm, stepped forward. His voice boomed, speaking in a language the boys couldn't understand. But through their bond with Spark, the meaning was clear. Surrender the prince, and no harm will come to you. Ben's hands balled into fists. He's not going anywhere. You don't even care about him, you're just here to drag him back to your war or whatever it is you're fighting. The leader tilted his head, as if surprised by the boy's defiance. He spoke again, and this time, the message came with a sense of finality. We serve the royal family. You do not understand the danger you are inviting by keeping him here. Before the boys could respond, Spark took action. The dragonling leapt from Alex's arms, landing gracefully in the center of the clearing. Its glowing scales pulsed rhythmically, and a wave of calm washed over everyone, alien soldiers included. Through their bond, Alex and Ben heard Spark's voice, soft yet resolute. I will return. But they are under my protection. You will not harm them. The leader's glowing eyes flickered, as if considering the command. Finally, he nodded. The soldiers stepped back, lowering their weapons, and the leader spoke one last time. Your bond with the prince is strong. Because of this, we will not retaliate. But know this, your world is now connected to ours. Protect it well. Spark turned to the boys, chirping softly. The twins knelt, their hands resting on the dragonling's warm, shimmering scales. For a moment, no words were needed. The bond they shared transcended the pain of parting, and though their hearts ached, they knew Spark had to go. As the alien soldiers escorted Spark onto the ship, the boys watched in silence. The crystalline vessel rose into the sky, joining the others before vanishing into the stars. Ridgeview was quiet once more, but Alex and Ben knew their lives would never be the same. Somewhere out there, Spark was safe. And the boys? They were no longer just ordinary kids, they were guardians of a connection that spanned the stars. The hours after Spark's departure were surreal. Ridgeview had returned to its quiet existence, but Alex and Ben felt as if the world had shifted beneath their feet. The skies were clear, the alien ships gone, and the townspeople, including their parents, seemed blissfully unaware of the monumental event that had just occurred. But the twins knew the truth. Earth was no longer just a quiet corner of the universe. It was part of something far greater and far more dangerous. That night, Alex and Ben sat on the roof of their house, staring up at the stars. They had always loved gazing at constellations and dreaming of distant worlds, but now the sky felt closer, more alive. Somewhere out there, Spark was flying through the cosmos, heading back to the royal nest they had glimpsed through his memories. Do you think he's okay? Ben asked, breaking the silence. Alex nodded, though his voice wavered. He's tougher than he looks. And he's got those soldiers to protect him. Yeah, Ben said softly. But what happens to us now? They said Earth was connected to their world. What does that even mean? Before Alex could respond, the calm night was shattered by a loud, unnatural hum. The twins' heads snapped up just in time to see the sky rippling like water. A massive, black ship emerged from the disturbance, its surface jagged and foreboding, like a predator's armor. It was unlike the crystalline ships of Spark's guardians. This was something darker. The ship descended slowly, stopping just above the tree line. A smaller craft detached and landed in the same field where the alien soldiers had appeared earlier. Alex and Ben exchanged a terrified glance. They didn't need Spark's telepathy to know these visitors weren't here to talk. Should we run? Ben whispered, his voice trembling. Alex shook his head. If they're looking for Spark, we have to show them he's gone. Maybe they'll leave. The twins climbed down from the roof and made their way cautiously toward the field. They stayed low, creeping through the shadows until they reached the edge of the clearing. There, illuminated by the ship's eerie, pulsating lights, stood a group of figures. These aliens were grotesque, their bodies twisted and skeletal, with sharp, glowing eyes and spindly limbs that moved unnaturally. One of the creatures stepped forward, a staff-like weapon in its clawed hand. Its voice was a guttural snarl, but through the lingering connection with Spark, the boys could still understand its meaning. Where is the heir? We know he was here. Surrender him, or this world will burn. Alex stepped out of the shadows, his heart pounding but his resolve firm. He's not here anymore. He's gone. Back to his home. The alien tilted its head, its glowing eyes narrowing. Lies. We followed the trail here. The prince is weak, and you are nothing but children. Tell us where he is. Ben joined his brother, standing tall despite the fear coursing through him. We're not lying. Sparka, the prince left with his people. You missed him. The alien hissed, raising its staff. Energy crackled at its tip, casting jagged shadows across the field. Then this world will pay for your interference. Before the alien could strike, a familiar glow lit up the clearing. The twins turned to see a small, bright sphere descending from the sky. As it landed softly in the grass, it unfurled into a shape they recognized immediately: Spark. The dragonling was no longer the fragile, frightened creature they had first found. His scales gleamed like molten gold, and his wings unfurled with a majestic power. His eyes glowed with an intensity that made the alien invaders recoil. Spark let out a roar sound far too mighty for his small size, and the ground trembled beneath him. The invaders hesitated, their weapons faltering as the dragonling's presence filled the air with a palpable energy. Through their bond, the boys heard Spark's voice, clear and commanding: "This world is under my protection. Leave now, or face the consequences." The lead alien snarled, its skeletal frame shaking with rage. "You are but a child of your kind. You cannot dash." Spark didn't wait for it to finish. With a sudden burst of light, he unleashed a wave of energy that knocked the invaders off their feet. Their weapons disintegrated in their hands, and their ship shuddered violently, its engines sparking. The remaining aliens scrambled back to their craft, their confidence shattered. The leader glared at Spark one last time, then growled, "This is not over, little prince. Your defiance will cost you." The ship rose into the air, vanishing into the same rippling distortion it had come through. The clearing fell silent once more, save for the faint hum of Spark's glowing scales. Alex and Ben rushed to Spark, who looked weary but unhurt. "You came back," Ben said, his voice thick with emotion. "We thought you were gone for good." Spark nuzzled against them, his warmth radiating comfort. "I could not leave you unprotected. You are part of my family now." The boys felt tears prick their eyes, but they smiled. Spark's bond with them wasn't just a fleeting connection, it was permanent, unbreakable. As the three of them stood together under the stars, Spark looked up at the sky, his gaze filled with both hope and determination. The galaxy is vast, and danger will come again. But together, we are stronger than any threat. For Alex and Ben, life would never be the same. But they didn't mind. They had a dragon prince by their side and a bond that stretched across the stars. No matter what the future held, they knew they would face it together.